Welcome to our Gemara Shir. Gemara straight and simple. Straight and simple is what we're trying to make the Gemara to be. And Baruch Hashem, we are advancing in Masechet Shabbos. Daf Kuf Mem Vov Amud Beis. We're learning a lot of relevant things regarding Shabbos, Hilchot Shabbos through the Gemara. Kuf Mem Vov Amud Beis. And we're going to study today to learn about brushing teeth on Shabbos and using a soap on Shabbos. Solid soap, soap bar. We're going to talk about possibly we'll get to the sugi of Maris Ayin and more. So the shir as always is Le'ilu Nishmas, my father, Menachem ben Akiva, Le'ilu Nishmas, Reb Aaron ben Pinchas Yehuda. And let's go. In our page, Kuf Mem Vav Amud Beis, we see a few machlokesim between Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel, in all the cases, Rav, in our page at least, Rav forbids, Rav osal, and Shmuel shari. So, let's go. V'im hoisan akuva. We learned in the Mishnah that if a person has a hole in a barrel, and he wants to stuff the hole, and he wants to use some shava, wax, he takes a blob of wax, a piece of wax, and stuffs it, wants to fill in the hole, that is usher. There could be here a question of melacha called memare'ach. Memare'ach means to smoothen. Memare'ach is to make something smooth, like sand, using sandpaper is also in Shabbos, to remove hair from leather, not from skin, in order to make it into leather, to process it and make it smoother and nicer. These are all toldas of memare'ach. Memare'ach is a more specific tolda of taking something like wax, which is hard, and spreading it, making it flatter, and thus more, like it gets more runny. In other words, you take something hard and you make it flat, flat, flat. So as you flatten it and you make like basically becomes more liquidy, more flexible, that is considered to be memare'ach, which is the total memare'ach. Now, mishcha. Here comes another case. We're not talking here about, like the Mishnah's case, we're not talking here about wax, rather about thick oil. Oil that's not runny. It's not what you use in your salad or your Shabbos candles. Mishcha, Rashi says, Mishcha here is shemen av. Shemen that is not so liquidy. It's oil, but thick oil, like a cream paste. Think of toothpaste, It's not as hard as wax, but it's not runny like oil. So Rav osal u'Shmuel shari. Rav said you're not allowed to use mishcha, thick oil, and making it thinner, flattening it by making it thinner, more malleable. So Rav says it's also u'Shmuel shari. Shmuel does allow it. Why? What's the question? Very simple. Man de osar. Rav that says it's also says gazrin and mishum shava umekik zera. Don't use that oil which is thicker than normal, than usual, because maybe mishum shava, if you do that, next Shabbos you may come to do the same to a shava, to wax, which is really hard, and shava is also doraisa. Uman deshari lo gazrinan. Shmuel says, no, I'm not concerned. Very simple. Just a question of how concerned are we, how frightened are we of the person doing the avera. I promised you yesterday to talk about the big machlokes between Rav Ovadia Yosef and many other Ashkenazi poskim regarding brushing teeth, and also regarding using a hard soap bar on Shabbos. So basically, it's a big sugya. I'm only touching upon the sugya because it has to do with what we've just said, what we see in our Mishnah here. So when a person brushes his teeth, first of all, there's a problem of, or at least potentially a problem of using the brush itself. When you use it on Shabbos, then you are squeezing the water, as you're washing it, the water or anything else that's there comes out from between the many, many hairs on the brush, and that could be a problem of schita. It was like squeezing, schita b'sear. That's a question. They made out of plastic. Maybe there is no schita. But the problem that we're talking about here is a problem of memare'ach. You're taking something mishcha. Funnily enough, the modern Hebrew word mishchat shinaim. Mishcha actually is the same word as that the Gemara uses. It's a paste, a cream paste. It's not as soft as oil. It's not as hard as wax. That's the case we're talking about over here. So the halacha here is that we are goizer. Before we talk about brushing teeth, well, first of all, that kind of mishcha, halacha is the krav, halacha kirav beisure, halacha is the krav, and we are goizer. So lichoira, it should be also, and that's what the Ashkenazim poskim say. I saw yesterday the tshuva of Ramoshe Feinstein. I saw it inside. I read it. It's not long, and he says brushing teeth on Shabbos is definitely also because when you take the mishchat shinaim, the toothpaste, and it touches your teeth, and you are squeezing it against your teeth too. You take the mishcha, which is hardish, which is a little bit more, solid and concentrated and gelled, and when it's against your teeth, it becomes all kind of liquidy, all spread out, and therefore it's also it's pashut memare'ach, could be nisodoraisa, and most Ashkenazi poskim hold the same. Now Rav Ovadia Yosef has a chiddush, and he says no. Rav Ovadia Yosef says that basically it's not really called memare'ach at all, because memare'ach, he wants to learn from our case. Memare'ach means when you have a hole in the barrel, for example, and you want that layer, that film of shava, of wax, to stay there. You want it to actually be there and be like a kind of like a thin protection layer against the wine, that the wine should not drip out. But with the toothpaste, you're not interested in this thing on your teeth. You're not like trying to create some kind of, cover, any kind of layer to, I don't know, make your teeth nicer. You're just brushing the teeth and everything just gets dissolved. You wash it out with water straight away. You're not trying to make it stay there as, as is the permanent kind of layer. And therefore, according to Ravadia, there's no problem to brush your teeth. Of course, you have to be careful of other things, such as if you know that if a person Khalila has bleeding from the gums, if his gums are bleeding, it's a problem. You're not supposed to cause yourself or others to bleed on Shabbos. That could also be an issue. But the memare'ach, that's a question. Same thing regarding the soap. Again, it's a bigger sugya. The soap are only touching on the sugya. The case of the soap is a similar idea. According to the Ashkenazi poskim, when you have hard soap, and as you're washing your hands with a bar of soap, you're washing your hands with the bar of soap. Oh, there's siren. We're in Eretz Yisrael. I have to run to the shelter. No, that's a Tehillim. I'm back from the shelter. Baruch Hashem, I'm alive. Okay, so Kodesh Baruch Hu, I think will judge those Chutim for causing such bittul Torah every time. Now we spoke about the soap. So the hard soap is the same idea. Actually, right now, when I was in the shelter, I spoke to Talmud Chacham about it, so he confirmed what I said. Basically, according to Ashkenazim, when you have a hard bar of soap, and as you wash your hands, you're making it, kind of smoother with hardish, and then with the water it becomes smoother and more malleable, and it actually parts of it kind of disappears, and the rest is like smoother. So then that's memare'ach. The act itself is memare'ach. Here again, the Sephardi poskim would say no, not necessarily. Why? Because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be memare'achit. I don't have a layer of, something that's supposed to stay that way, and I'm happy that no, now I have a layer of thin film of something, and therefore it's not Merach at all, according to them. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Bar Chana Rav Yosef. Now, we just said the Rav said it is Osur, yeah, right? And now we're saying the opposite. Rav Shmuel bar Bar Chana told Rav Yosef, B'fer shamat la nishmei de Rav, you explicitly told us on behalf of Rav, Mishcha Shari. You told us the Mishcha is okay, that using the Mishcha, that hardish kind of oil, is okay on Shabbos, and we're not concerned that if you use that, you may come to use the wax. Yeah. Now, lichoira though, there's no iser d'oraisa in brushing the teeth and all that, even according to those who aser, because right now we say gazrinan. Yeah, we say just a gzera. We don't say that this is iser d'oraisa. I'm not coming to belittle, but sometimes when you have an iser d'rabanan, if you add other factors to it, it could be mutar. Amar Tavat Rishba Amar Shmuel. Oh, here comes a new old sugya. Tavas Rishba. The Rishba means the bird hunter. Shabbos, the bird hunter, told Shmuel, "Hi Talfa." Sorry, he said on behalf of Shmuel. Excuse me. He quoted Shmuel saying, "Hi Talfa de Asa Osu." Talfa de Asa means Talfa is a leaf of Asa, a leaf of the Hados. You know the Hadassim we use on sukkahs. Yeah, the myrtle, a myrtle leaf. Talfa de Asa is forbidden. Forbidden to do what? So again, we're talking here about a barrel. Yeah, the barrel is the star of the show today. We're a barrel. Yeah, so the barrel here that has a hole. Now you want to create a little faucet, kind of a spigot, a way out for the wine to come out. So what do? You take a myrtle leaf, a small one. I guess the chavis is nice and small and cozy. You take the myrtle leaf and you bend it. It's important to know. You bend it down and you shape it to be in the perfect shape for the wine too. Yeah, it's like a little pipe. You're creating a teeny cutesy little pipe with that tarfadasa. You're shaping it in such a form to help the wine go in and out of the barrel. And that's also, and everyone agrees that it's usher. That is now very interesting. And I'm going to get there later, but let's just point out now, those of you who were with us yesterday, remember that when it comes to actually placing a real spigot, a real a pipe in the hole of the chavis. Then we said was machlokas Rav Shmuel, but everyone agreed. Both Rav Shmuel agreed that if you don't cut it, if you just use a regular pipe that was there before, and to place the pipe again in the hole is okay. And yet over here, when we talk about tarfa de asa, about the leaf, which seems to be way less permanent or important, just a leaf, here we say that it's osir. Frag the Gemara, my time. What's the big concern about a leaf? Rav Yema midifti amar gzer mishum marzev. What does it mean? If you make a leaf, you create that shape. You're shaping the leaf to be like a marzev, which is a gutter. Marzev means like a half a pipe that is, just like a U-shaped kind of pipe, only has a bottom side. So gzera mishum marzev. What does it mean? Today you're doing it to the leaf. Actually, to make a shape of a marzev to a leaf is not a problem. It's just a leaf. But tomorrow you're going to take something real, metal, wood, real bone. You're going to do real binyan and it'll create a real marzev. Still, why did we allow to stick in a regular existing marzev? Says Tosfos, a geoinish answer. Says Tosfos, you know why? When you take a pipe and you just place it in the hole, you didn't do anything. You didn't change the shape. You didn't design. You stick it like you stick a straw in the can of Coke. That's fine. You're not doing any change of shape. But she'enkin over here, it's worse. It's just a leaf. That's true. But Lamasa, you're changing the shape. You're playing around with the shape of the leaf to be just right. If you allow yourself to create such an unimportant creation, next time you'll need a real marzev, a real pipe, and you'll start designing and crafting and cutting and creating and building. That will be a doraisa. That's why we nip it at the bud and we don't allow it already by the leaf. That's opinion number one. That's Ravema Midifti, and that's how the Mechaber paskins. Now, Rav Ashi Omar, Gzer Shema Yiktom. Rav Ashi says a completely different reason why you're not allowed to take that leaf and place it in the hole of the barrel. Gzer Shema Yiktom, which means you take one leaf now. Let's say it's not going to work with this leaf. That leaf was already cut from before Shabbos. Legit. You're putting it in the barrel. You know what's going to happen tomorrow or next Shabbos or even now on Shabbos, if this one doesn't work, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the leaf and yiktom, you'll cut off, like eradicate, you'll cut off another leaf. And that is mamish a problem to oraisa. Why? Not because of kotzer, because it's disconnected from the ground. There's no issue of kotzer, but there is an issue of maki bepatish. Why? When you take one leaf for a specific purpose, yeah, you're not allowed to take one piece of, let's say, wood to create a toothpick. Yeah, if you cut something for a specific purpose, you just built it. You created yourself a toothpick. Same thing over here. If you have the leaf out of the myrtle branch of the hodos and you cut it off, that's mamash a problem. It could be makiv patish because now you created the kli. For you, that's a kli, not a very important one, but a kli nevertheless. That's why it's also don't take a one that's already cut off, one that's already detached, because later on you may detach and cut from the existing one, and you'll create your little spigot, your little pipe, which is really a leaf. My benayu, what would be a practical difference, asks the Gemara, between marzev or shema yiktom? What's the difference between them? What would be a practical difference? Answers the Gemara, yika benayu dekatim umanchi, which means, let's say you have, explains the Gemara, and this is how the Ramo paskins, let's say you have many, many other leaves that are ready from before. Meaning, if let's start from the end. If your concern is that if you use one detached leaf and place it in the chobis and design it, what's the problem? Oh, you'll run out of leaves, you'll cut off a new one. Here, there's no chashash. You have a galore of them, you have 20 of them already cut off. So you'll use another one that's cut off, then there's no problem. You're allowed to make it because there's no problem with the shaping. The problem is maybe you'll come to cut one from the branch. No reason to cut. They're all cut off already from before. You're a well prepared guy. And that's what the Ramo says. According to the first opinion, though, of Marzev, it has nothing to do with cutting off from the actual myrtle, from the hodos, nothing to do with that. The mere fact that you are creating a shape, a U-shaped kind of Marzev from the leaf, that alone is a problem because you may come to do a real one from a real Marzev, from real material. It has nothing to do with cutting from the hodos. So even if you have 100 of them there, it doesn't help. And that's on the Mechaber Paschal L'chumra. Interesting. Mechaber and Ramah follow the same Mechlokes Amoraim right here in the Gemara. Beis Sadia. What's Beis Sadia? Beis Sadia, for a change, has nothing to do with Chovis. Beis Sadia is actually like Sadin. Those of us who know Hebrew, what's a Sadin? Sadin is basically a bed sheet. Yeah, that's a sheet that's on your bed. Beis Sadia, a person has something which he uses as like a sheet for the bed, part of the bed linen, or maybe something he rolls under his head instead of a pillow. So that Beis Sadia, now the person wants to take that sadin, that linen, he wants to take it on his body because he wants to take it to another house. Let's imagine the following case. Your name is Reuven, and Leil Shabbos, you are supposed to be hosted by your friend Shimon for the night. But you like your own blankie, you like your own sadin, and you want to take it with you to your host's house. And no, there's no Eruv, it's not, an Eruv place. What do? Are you allowed to wear it on your body as if it was levush, as if it was a garment? Yes or no? Rav Osar Ushmul Shari. Again, consistently, the entire page, Rav forbids and Shmuel allows. Explains the Gemara. Berakin, the Kulan Pligi the Shari. If the sadin is soft and easily wearable, and you can wear it like a big scarf, like a shawl, and that's the way people wear it because it's very soft, very flexible and wearable. No problem because it's fine, it's okay, it doesn't look strange. It's normal. Darkan is chamim behem. Rashi says it's a kind of garment. It's usually used for linen, but it's normal for people to, warm themselves up with it. Fine. Bekashin, on the other hand, yeah, we're a few lines before the Mishnah. Bekashin the kul alma lo pligid also. If we're talking about harder linen, sometimes yeah, you have harder linen, like thicker blanket, where people don't wear it. It's absolutely abnormal to wear. Lo pligid also. Of course, it's also. It may not be chayev. It's not derech masui. You are wearing it, but it's not something that's normally worn. It's not wearable, and therefore, if you wear something you're not supposed to be wearing, it's also drabanan. Yeah, you can't just take a box of shoes on your shoulder on Shabbos. Not doraisa, but not drabanan. It's also drabanan. Keep ligi. So what's a machlokes? B'mitzi. Oh, very good. Mitzi is like memutza, the average. We're talking here about the kind of bed linen that's not too hard and not too soft. Oh, man de osar mechzik masui. The one who forbids it, which we assume is Rav, that looks like masui. It looks as if you're carrying. Even though you may claim you're not carrying, you're wearing it, It looks like you're carrying because it's not really soft. It looks more on the hard side. Shmuel says no, because it's not so hard. It's close to the soft side. It doesn't look like you're carrying. It looks like you're wearing, and it's okay. Zog the Gemara is something very interesting, very fascinating story. That the Rav forbade those kind of linen to wear those linen in the street, the linen that are middle of the road, not too hard, not too soft. He never actually said it. Lav beferush itmal. It's not something that was written or said, nothing was written, it wasn't ever said by Rav outright, explicitly. Ela michlala itmal. We learned it from a story that happened to Rav. Yeah, kind of whoever wrote it in the Gemara derived it from a Maisa he thought he actually, as we'll see, misinterpreted Rav, and he thought that Rav forbade it. There's a very famous story about Rav Moshe Feinstein about it. You know the story of the milk in America? Coming up soon, okay? So, when you get to the Mishnah, we're going to get a prize, The story about Rav Moshe. The Rav Iklalo Atra, Rav came to a certain place, the lo havele Ravcha. There wasn't enough room for Rav to give shear to all the Talmidim. Imagine yourself, thousands of years ago, Rav wants to give shear to his many Talmidim. He was out of their regular place. He was somewhere out of town. There wasn't enough room in the house to give shear to all the Talmidim. Nafki Yosef the Carmelis. They went out and they sat in the Carmelis. Okay, Yosef the Carmelis. As we all know, you're not allowed to carry in a Carmelis. Aisule Beisadia Lo Yosef. So they brought Rav that kind of Beisadia. Tosa said they brought Rav the kind of linen you can sit on, something like a comforter to sit on, which was mitzi, not too hard and not too soft. Lo Yosef, he refused to sit on it. Well, it's Shabbos. Why wouldn't he sit on what they're offering him to sit on that mitzi, on that kind of bed linen? Man dechaza sova mishum de beisadia. Also, the one who saw it assumed and taught other people, tzak halacha. Rav holds that you're not allowed to sit on Shabbos. I mean, you can sit in it. You're not allowed to carry it. So if Mr. whoever Amoiro carried the sadya for Rav on his body, right? Let's say I'm the helper of Rav. I'm wearing it on my shoulders, on my neck, in order to transfer it to Rav. Rav does not want to be nehene midvar avera, right? To be nehene from an action of the Chilul Shabbos. Isn't that so? That's what they assumed. And they assumed, and loudspeakers. Rav says it's also to use the Beis Sadi on Shabbos. Wrong. It was not the right reason. We're just before the Mishnah, 3 lines before the Mishnah. One second. The Rav Achruzi Machis beside Yeshari. Whoa! Rav announced publicly that Beis Sadia is allowed. That kind of Beis Sadia is okay to use. So why didn't you use it? Want to use it? Wow. In other words, Rav had two Talmidim which he treated as a Talmid Chover. And many times we see in the Gemara that Amiroim would treat their Talmidim, they were like Talmid Chover, like he's half a Talmid, half a Chaver, very high level Talmid, like a Talmid that's almost as good as Rav himself. So Rav gave them covet, though. These were Rav Kana and Ravasi. Rav Kana was very, very close to Rav always, and Ravasi. Rav Kana and Ravasi, they didn't have where to sit. So they were sitting on the floor, mamish on the floor. So Rav, out of covet and solidarity with them, that's why he didn't sit. He was Benadon Chavero. Mitzadet, covet Torah was mechabed his Talmid Chaver, and that's why I didn't want to sit on anything more comfortable than them. Like the Chofetz Chaim, like today you have Gdolim, Rav Zilberstein, I think, he doesn't sleep, he doesn't sleep on a mattress because of the war. They want to identify with the soldiers. So here too, we have a Rav with the Talmidim. He didn't want to be more comfortable than his Talmid Chaver. So there's a story of Rav Moshe Feinstein that once one of the kosher milk producers in New York, all their sales dropped. Their sales went down. Nobody wanted to buy from him. And then he asked why. So people told him, Rav Moshe Feinstein said that your milk is treif, is not good. He went to Rav Moshe and he said, why? What's wrong with your milk? So it came out that a few days before that, Rav Moshe Feinstein was sitting at the simcha, like at the function, at the top table, and there were 2 bottles of milk or 2 cartons of milk. So he picked up one of that hechsher, of that company. He picked it up, he looked at it, and he put it down. And then he used the other one from the other company. Oh, so everyone said, oh, Ramosh is not using this, he's using the other, right? Came out, the reason why Ramosh didn't use it because it was empty. That's who used the other one. So I'm saying, Chachamim Zara b'divrechem, when people interpret the Ma'aseh Gedolim, they have to know exactly what's the kavanah of the Rav, and we see it happening over here. And Baruch Hashem, hopefully we can correct the mistakes. Very good, Rebbe Kiva. We are everyone in this room are called Akiva. Wow, this is a Akiva meeting, secret meeting room for all the Akivas. Says the Mishnah. Noisnin tav shilatochabo. Our Mishnah deals with keeping the temperature of your food hot or cold on Shabbos. Noisnin tav shilatochabo b'shvil sheyeshomu. You have a tavshil and you want it to stay cool, not to be destroyed in the sun. Okay? You're going camping somewhere, you have your tavshil, whichever level of heat doesn't make a difference. Now, you want to put it in a pit. Everybody knows under the ground is always cooler, right? In a cave. You want to put it in like an indentation in the ground in order to keep it away from the sun. That's allowed. Question is, what's the chiddush? The Gemara will discuss it. Next case, v'samayim hayofim baroim b'shvil shitzanenu. One is allowed to take cold water, right? And this is nice, good mineral water, neviot, whatever, may eden, and he's allowed to put it in a closed bottle in bad water, beroim, in dirty water, in order to yitzanenu, in order to cool them down. Let's say you are out of your house, no other problem of tiltul, and you have a cool bottle of water, you're placing it inside other water that surrounds it from all over in order to keep it cool, because that place, the surrounding water is cool, and that is okay. Again, what's the chiddush? Third case is a tzonen b'chama b'shvil shichamu. Tzonen b'chama b'shvil shichamu means you're allowed to take. Now, let's say you want to heat your water. Up until now, we spoke about cold. Now it's the other way. You have cold, whatever, water or tavshil, and you're putting it in the actual stand, b'chama, not in hot water, in the chama itself. You take something, put it in the chama, so the chama, the sun rays will cook it. Yechamu, that is allowed. You're allowed to cook in the sun itself. That's halacha. End of Mishnah. Mishenoshru kelev b'derech b'mayim. A person was walking down out of town, was walking down the forest, let's say out of the city, and noshru kelev b'mayim. All of a sudden, his outer garment, his kapete, his talis, his jacket, depends if it's Hasidish, Sfardish, whatever. Yeah, the kelim, the cloak, whatever he has, fell into the water and got all wet. He's allowed to keep walking without being concerned. He's allowed to keep walking with the clothes on without being concerned. What's the concern? Why shouldn't he walk with wet clothes? Does it say in the Torah, lo telech rotuv b'Shabbos? So, without going to all the details, the Mefarshim Mishnah bring down two issues. We will see, first of all, the next Mishnah, that if you have a towel that's wet, mikveh, Shabbos, anybody? Yeah? So now, let's say you have a wet towel, it's not simple. You can wear your wet towel on Shabbos. Normally, no, because you may come to squeeze it. It's not nice, right? Yeah, it's too wet. Maybe you'll come to squeeze it and then wear it. So there we are concerned about it, and here we are not. Why not? Because here it's covered the brios. Because we're not asking a person to undress, even if he has a few layers. Yeah, for him it's not mechubah to walk on Shabbos without a jacket. You tell a chosid to go on Shabbos without a kapita, oy vavoy. Yeah, so he's allowed to keep wearing whatever he's wearing, and we're not concerned of schita because of covered the brios. The other concern is brought down by the Tosis Yom Tov. He says malach ve'en choishesh is what? You're not concerned that people would think that you washed your clothes. When you walk around with clothes dripping with water, it's actually nice, fresh looking. It's all wet. Looks like it's just been to the washing machine without the dryer. And you dry, oh, maybe people should suspect him. Here, we're not concerned about that. And we're talking here also about a place out of town. Now, however, once he has arrived at the outer gate, chotzer, in other words, he's now at the doorstep of the city, the outermost house of the city. When he now, let's say he wants to place it there He wants to place it right outside town. He wants to spread it out in the sun, so the sun should dry his clothes. That's allowed. Why? Because nobody is there and nobody will suspect him that he washed it on Shabbos. Avaloi keneged ha'am. If he goes in town with his clothes on, the wet clothes that got wet before, now he's inside town. He doesn't mind, undressing his outer garment. He wants to spread it out to dry in the sun in front of everybody inside the city. That's not allowed. Why? Because there's a chashash of malisain. People would think, there are people looking, and everyone would think he's basically, like hanging it out to dry. To hang it up to dry. When do you hang things up to dry? Normally after you washed it, not after it fell into the puddle, right? The people would suspect, therefore it's not allowed. Meaning our Mishnah is against halacha. You already realize. Because what does the halacha say? כל מה שעשו בחכם מפני מריסיים, אפילו בחד החדרים עשו. Here we do differentiate. This opinion holds no. You're not allowed to do something funny, yeah, בחדר חדר, only when people are looking. But in a place out of town, in the forest, in a quiet place, or indoors, you're allowed to do something that is otherwise looks suspicious. That's not the halacha. Zog the Gemara. Let's see how far we can get. What? Aloha asur b'cheder. Yeah, aloha asur b'cheder. I was in Chutz La'aretz, Israel in Chutz La'aretz, and I wasn't allowed to do melacha on Yom Tov Sheni, even indoors. Yeah, yeah. Then there were no. So I kept kept Shabbos the whole day. There were no phones then anyway, so it wasn't so hard.
Where was it?
In Gibraltar, yeah. Zog the Gemara Pshita.
What's Beit Sadio?
Beisadia is the like sardine, linen, bed linen, sardine. Frag the Gemara Pshita. Let's go to the very first case of the Mishnah. What's a chiddush? You're telling me what? I have some kind of pot full of food. You are allowed to put it in the pit in order to preserve it from the heat. Why not? Answers the Gemara. Ma detema nigzam shum ashvuya gumois kamash malan. Not all pits are exactly beautifully, we don't live in a fairy tale. They're not all so straight, yeah, exactly to fit the straight bottom of your pot, mister. Many times the bottom of the pit is, all bumpy, all crooked. And maybe if you put in your pot full of cholent and you're scared that it's going to spill, you may come to level the ground, to straighten the ground. There'll be a melacha of hardish. Maybe we should be concerned of that and never allow a person to put it in the pit. Kamash Malan, we're not concerned. Of course, if it's bumpy, he's not allowed to do it. That could be Nisa Doraisa. Mashe'en ken lechatchila, we don't answer, and just make sure you don't do it. We're allowing you not to do it. Now, next case, Vesamayim yofim beroim pshita. What's a chiddush? Why should I not be allowed to take my nice, beautiful bottle of cold neviot, Evian, whatever, cold water, and put it in colder water to preserve the cold? Last time I checked, Bishul is making things hotter, not colder. This statement alone is not necessary. We're only mentioning it as a jumping board to the next part of the Mishnah that says what? We just wanted to contrast. You're allowed to put something in cold as opposed to don't put the same thing in order to eat. It's the same bottle of water, and I want to have some nice tea on Shabbos, right? That, one against the other. That you're not allowed to do. That you are allowed to do. Actually, both are allowed. Both are allowed. That you're allowed to do, and you're not concerned of bishul. Right? Hanami pshita. Why not? Of course. In other words, it's pashut that I'm allowed to cook in the sun. We discussed it already in Daf Lametes, in its mashma, the Mishnah over there, that cooking something in the sun itself, not told as chama, right? You go in a very hot place, you have 40 degrees, Celsius, very hot. The sun rays are beating and hitting the food, and your egg is becoming a very nice, crispy, sunny side up. Fine on Shabbos, as long as it's the real sun rays that cook it and not the frying pan. That's another, yeah? So what's the chiddush? Yes, there is a chiddush. One could argue that if I'm used to having every Shabbos, I have my water or my egg or my potatoes, I don't know how strong the sun is, for how long, and I'm used to cooking on Shabbos with the sun, right? Maybe one day to cooking in the sun. Maybe, yeah, that's what he's doing here. He's cooking in the sun. Yeah, actually, my mother told me once she saw a clip, a video of a guy doing it in Israel, in Eilat. He took an egg and he cracked it and it became an omelet. Yeah. So you can do it. You can cook in the sun. Physically and halachically in Shabbos, it's allowed. As long as you're careful, it's the sun and not the told us the chama. What's the chiddush? I would argue and say maybe he'll come to do atmono. He's so used to the elements cooking every Shabbos, maybe he'll come to one day, if it doesn't work with the sun, but of a cold day, he may come to take the same water and surround them with remetz. Remetz is mamish, ashes and coals, hot coals. That is of course also you're moving the coals, right? And we come to stoke the coals. That's Isser. Maybe there's a concern of heating in the sun. Atu, don't do that. Atu, you may come to heat with the surrounding coals. Kamash Malan, they were not concerned. So this Mishnah is all the coolest. The Mishnah hold is coolest. That is everything that's allowed. Then Mishnah Noshru, let's just do one more line, the famous line. I also have a story about this, actually, a very interesting story. No time for another story today about Chadr Chadorim. It's a fascinating story that proves to you why Chadr Chadorim is also about an Israeli guy who went to LA. I think that story will wait for after Shavuos. Amar Vidamarav. Let's just read the line, okay? Amar Vidamarav. Kol Mogam Shos Chachom Mipnei Marisayin. Anytime Chachamim forbade us from doing something because of Maris Ayin, because it looks suspicious, yeah, people may suspect you for doing a Vera even though you don't. Even to do it even in the room within a room in a very closed room, it's still also. Why is it also? You know why? First of all, you never know. People may be watching you today with the cameras and everything. And that's the story that happened in LA. I'll tell you later, next week. Chadar Chadam is also, and also the person may get used to do an Isser, which not really Isser, to do the head that looks like an Isser in his room. Tomorrow he'll do it in the street. You're so used to it. You see, the Mishnah says otherwise. Our Mishnah said you are allowed to spread out your garment in the Chama out of town, but not inside town. So do differentiate whether people are actually watching you or people not watching you. That's Tanakama, and that's one opinion that does differentiate between public and private place. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon oisrin, very good. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon they aser. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon they argue in our Mishnah. They forbid to do anything that looks like an Easter, even in a very private area. They're oisrin, and we follow them la halacha. At least in the Oraisa, the Rabban may be different. Thank you, Atzlacha Bracha, but tremendously good Shavuos. So we're going to meet when Tuesday night. Yeah, after we've received the Torah in Mount Sinai. Thank you, Rabbi Chashuvim. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to everybody on